Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lumpin Vishum. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 1st of June. 42 people charged with murder for 2013 Bangladesh Rana Plaza collapse. Protests continue against killing of bus passengers in Pakistan's southwest Balochistan. And heat wave kills over 2,000 people as monsoons delayed by a week in India. And now for all the details. Pakistan's restive southwestern Balochistan observed a shutdown on Monday to protest the brutal killing of bus passengers over the weekend. 22 people from the Pashtun tribe were gunned down in the latest incident of sectarian killing in the volatile province.
Shops and commercial establishments across Balochistan remained shut on Monday as the province continued to mourn the victims of Saturday's massacre. Bus services connecting Quetta to other parts of the country were also suspended for the third consecutive day. Major political parties including Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam and Awami National Party also held demonstrations in the provincial capital against the killings. The government had announced a day of mourning against the brutal killing on Sunday. Authorities also stepped up security across key cities to check on protests turning violent as a bloody incident led to a fear of ethnic flare-up in the volatile province. At least 22 passengers from the Pashtun tribe travelling in two Karachi-bound buses were abducted and later shot dead in Mastung, some 33 miles south of Quetta, late on Friday. An armed Baloch insurgent group claimed responsibility of the attack.
मासूम पश्तून भाइयों को कत्ल किया है। ये दो कौमों को आपस में लड़ाने की भी एक साजिश है, लेकिन मैं दुश्मन को भी ये बताना चाहता हूँ और आपके तौसत से कौम को भी ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि पश्तून और बलोच आपस में भाई-भाई हैं।
Balochistan, which sits on untold amounts of mineral wealth, has been roiled by a separatist insurgency by various armed groups. Islamabad's plans to encourage large-scale migration of Pashtuns and Punjabis to the province in the name of infrastructure projects have seen resistance from local people. Many Baloch see this as Pakistan government's move to demographically re-engineer the province. This has resulted in an increase in attacks on both Punjabis and Pashtuns by local insurgent groups. In April, 20 migrant labourers belonging to Punjab and Sindh provinces working on a dam project in Turbat were killed by unidentified gunmen.
The Criminal Investigation Department of Bangladesh pressed charges against 42 people in the 2013 Rana Plaza building collapse on Monday. Those charge sheeted for the murder include Bangladeshi businessman Sohail Rana, who owned the ill-fated complex. The multi-storied Rana Plaza building, housing mostly garment factories, collapsed in April 2013, killing over 1,100 people, mostly women, who worked in its garment factories. The mishap was caused after the owners rejected security warnings, despite cracks being reported a day before in many floors of the building. Rana was arrested weeks after the disaster while he was trying to flee the country. If found guilty, he could face up to death. The Rana Plaza collapse was the biggest industrial disaster in Bangladesh's history and had raised serious concerns over the safety standards in the garment sector, the country's biggest income generator. India's central bank is set to announce a second bi-monthly monetary policy review on Tuesday. With inflation tapering in recent months, the chorus is getting louder for a rate cut. Take a look.
India's central bank is likely to cut the benchmark repo rate by 25 basis points today. This would be the third rate cut in 5 months and would bring down the repo rate to 7.25%.
Inflation is also in the negative trajectory. WPI inflation is the negative, and CPI inflation is also under the comfortable trajectory, which is defined by Reserve Bank of India itself. So I believe there is no hurdle to reduce the interest rates. Rather, RBI should reduce it gradually in the bigger steps also.
The central bank cut rates by 25 basis points in January and in March. Industry insiders have their fingers crossed for further easing. They say this would boost sentiment and trigger a credit pickup in the manufacturing and infrastructure sectors.
Just to jumpstart the investment and push the demand up, he's likely to reduce rate by 25 basis points. Everybody is eagerly awaiting for this policy because it is directly linked to everyone's an individual's life, be it a common man who's paying EMIs or an industrialist who's borrowing.
The federal government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi got its first major boost last week after the data revealed that the GDP grew 7.5% in the last quarter, sweeping over China. The government is now looking forward to a further slash in repo rates for a sustainable growth.
Bangladesh police on Sunday arrested a suspected operative of the Islamic State from capital Dhaka. Investigators revealed that 27-year-old Abdullah Al-Ghalib was the assistant coordinator of the terror outfits in Bangladesh. According to reports, Ghalib and his associates were involved in recruiting fighters and collecting funds for the ISIS. The group also had plans to destabilize law and order and kill some important figures in Bangladesh. Police have also recovered jihadi books, 4 computer hard disks and other documents from Ghalib, who was earlier associated with banned terror outfit Ansarullah Bangla team. He is the 3rd ISIS operative arrested in Bangladesh recently after 2 men were nabbed by the police last week for similar charges. At least 4 people were killed and more than a dozen others injured in an explosion in the tunnel of the Neelam Jhelum project in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or POK. The project in the ecologically sensitive zone regularly witnesses instances of mismanagement and accidents.
According to reports, the explosion resulted due to a gas compression in the tunnel. While most of the casualties were labourers working in the tunnel, 2 Chinese engineers were also among those injured. The 3-mile-long tunnel, which is under construction from both the sides, has been struck by several mishaps in the past as well. At least 6 people, including a Chinese engineer, were killed in an accident in December last year. Islamabad, with the help of Beijing, is building the Neelam Jhelum Dam some 25 miles from POK capital Muzaffarabad to end Pakistan's burgeoning power crisis. Despite mounting anger from the locals, the dam is still being built in a seismically active zone. It has so far inundated many villages and farmlands, while thousands of people have been forced out to create catchment areas. Residents have been protesting against the construction, claiming that they will not get a fair share of the additional 969 megawatt of power generated here, which will be transferred to Pakistan's main cities without giving them adequate compensation.
An overnight Taliban raid on police headquarters in eastern Afghanistan was repelled early on Monday. Afghanistan authorities confirmed at least 5 Taliban militants were killed and 19 others were wounded in the 6-hour siege.
6 Taliban suicide bombers cordoned off the police compound in Nangarhar province, some 74 miles east of capital Kabul, late on Sunday. According to reports, 1 militant was detained following the counter-attack from the Afghan security forces. The Taliban said the target of the coordinated strike was a military meeting between police and foreign militaries. Several residential buildings around the compound were also destroyed by explosions and exchange of fire between the 2 sides. Nangarhar province, which borders Pakistan, has seen fierce violence in recent months with a spike of activity from the Taliban and other militias. Afghanistan remains in the clasp of Taliban-led violence ever since the terror group launched its annual spring offensive in April, which has already claimed hundreds of lives, including security personnel and civilians.
India's new service tax rate of 14% came into effect on Monday. The move will now make banking, insurance and construction costlier, among many other things. What seems like a little jump in tax from just under 12.5% would have a big impact, many say. Here is a report.
With the onset of June, people in India are sweating it out. It's not just the searing heat wave, but the rise in service tax. It means everything from eating out to travelling will cost more.
सर्विस टैक्स इतना ले रहे हैं उसके हिसाब से सुविधाएं प्रभावित नहीं हो रही हैं। जैसे भी आप देख सकते हैं स्पेशल ट्रेन बोल रहे हैं बट फिर भी ये लेट चल रही है।
हमारे लिए सर्विस टैक्स काफ़ी मायने रखता है। मोबाइल बिल से लेकर हर चीज़ पे टैक्सेस बढ़ रहे हैं। हमारे जेब खर्च से लेकर हमारे फैमिली का बजट तक गड़बड़ा रहा है। हर महीने का बजट गड़बड़ा रहा है और ये दिन पर दिन बढ़ता जा रहा है। सो इट इज़ अ टोटल एक्सप्लॉइटेशन ऑफ द पब्लिक।
This hike is step 1 towards the eventual introduction of the Goods and Services Tax or GST. That's a key economic reform the government is planning to implement from April next year. The GST bill seeks to streamline India's tax administration by eliminating different tax structures in different states.
In the field of indirect taxation, we are in the process of creating history by bringing about the most important indirect tax reform in independent India, the GST.
The Narendra Modi government stormed to power with the promise of fixing the country's tax system and reducing the financial burden on the common man. But the recent hike in fuel prices and the inflated surface tax has critics questioning Modi's resolve. Analysts say Modi's government must limit that damage or risk having a disillusioned population.
India is experiencing the 5th deadliest heat wave ever in the world and the 2nd worst in the country itself. The death toll has mounted to 2,000 even as the monsoon race missed its scheduled onset in the subcontinent over the weekend. A report.
India continues to swelter under blistering heat wave, which reportedly killed at least 2,200 people till Sunday. The mercury persists to hover over 45 degrees in most parts of the country, giving a hard time to the people. While around 1,600 deaths have been recorded from southern province of Andhra Pradesh alone, 540 deaths were registered in neighbouring Telangana. Dozens of deaths were also reported from northern and eastern parts of the country. This is the 2nd deadliest heat wave in India's history after 1998, which saw a record 2,541 casualties. Weather officials have said the boiling conditions will continue to wreak havoc till next few days. This comes even as people across the length and breadth of country continue to seek for relief. People who travel to other parts of the country looking to beat the summer heat in their home states, however, complained of no respite. Those taking to the beaches of southern Chennai complained of the hot and humid air, adding to the misery.
बीच पे आया क्या हवा न खाने के लिए, पर बीच पे भी बहुत गर्मी है, इसलिए પછી सुबह आया और बहुत कुछ नहीं बना.
The summer heat could be felt in the Himalayan province of Jammu and Kashmir too. Normal life was hit in the state, which otherwise sees an influx of tourists who wish to escape the heat in other parts of India during this time of the year.
गर्मी यहाँ पे तो मैक्सिमम मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा गर्मी है, 45 टेम्परेचर पहुँच गया है जहाँ पे, और बहुत सारे मतलब कि लोग मर भी गए हैं गर्मी से. तो मतलब हम ये चाहते हैं कि कॉलेज वगैरह स्कूल वगैरह में जल्दी छुट्टी हो जाए और छुट्टियाँ पड़ जाएं जल्दी से, तो जिससे मतलब कि बच्चों को आसान मतलब कि गर्मी का सामना ना करना पड़े.
India came under a grip of immense heat wave in mid-April, but deaths, however, accelerated in past few weeks. Most of the victims are believed to be day labourers or elderly people suffering from sunstroke or dehydration. Despite weather forecasters predicting an early arrival of monsoons around May end, the rains have already given a miss to its normal onset date over southern Kerala. According to latest reports from the Met Department, the monsoon is not likely to hit the Indian subcontinent any time before June 4th. While temperatures are expected to subside in the southern part of the country in the next few days, it would take several weeks for the monsoon showers to bring down the mercury in the dry northern parts of India.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. 42 people charged with murder for 2013 Bangladesh Rana Plaza collapse. Protests continue against killing of bus passengers in Pakistan's southwest Balochistan. And heat wave kills over 2,000 people as monsoons delayed by a week in India. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.